Alright guys, so since I watched Pete's Dragon recently and I felt like it had a lot of similarities to James and the Giant Peach, I decided it might as well be time to just review James and the Giant Peach. And I have it on DVD, and I also wanted to show off that I've got it on VHS too. So, you could tell that I really love this movie. This is one of my favorite Disney movies ever. It's done by Henry Selick, who directed The Nightmare Before Christmas, which was also a stop-motion movie. And he also directed Coraline as well, which was not Disney, but it is a great stop-motion animation movie too. Now, James and the Giant Peach is one of those movies that I've watched so many times since I was a kid. At first, as a kid, I was kind of scared of this movie and put off by it because of how creepy it looked and how... and also the image of the ants scared me, like the James's ants, like his legal guardians. Like I thought they were really creepy and watching it for the first time, and I was kind of scared by it when I was a kid. But I grew to love it, and this is also based on a book by Roald Dahl, who did Matilda as well. Like he was a big did a lot of kids novels, at least from kids books from what I can sum up. I don't really know much about him besides the fact he made a couple of these books like this, like Matilda or James and the Giant Peach. Oh, and I guess he did The Witches too. But it's based on a book, but it's got a lot of differences to it from what I can remember, because I read the book as a kid too. Now, I want to talk about the beginning of the movie. I like how it quickly sets everything up with James it's very fairy tale-like the way it starts. It's very much a fairy tale where James is living on a cottage with his parents on their own, happy as can be, and then a giant cloud rhino comes and kills his parents, which in the original, in the book, it's an actual rhino that escaped from the zoo, but in this one it's a cloud rhino, which is a very odd thing, and I enjoy that creativity to it, and it makes sense connecting it later in the movie. But there's this cloud rhino that comes out and eats them both, and James is left there and is taken to his two aunts, Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker, who Joanna Lumley and Mary Margulies play, who are great. They're really great in this movie. They're very despicable, just horrible characters, and I really love their performances. They're great. And I love how it sets up really quickly him and his parents get killed. He's sent with his aunts, and then you see how horrible of a life this little kid has, doing all the work for him, not eating, starving, apparently being beaten too, even though you don't see it, which of course you wouldn't. But then James, again, this is very fairy tale like, and I like the creativity of it. Like I said with the cloud rhino, I like how James just sees this random man who comes up to him and has a bag full of crocodile tongues, which are a magical thing that will create something to help James out. In the book, it said something like how he would eat him and then he would fly to New York, literally fly or something. But in this one, it just says if you have him with you, you can stop this and go to New York. It's the first step to New York. And the guy disappears and tells him, don't drop these because they'll use their magic on whoever or whatever they find first. And then James's aunts walk outside after the man disappears, and James is running up the hill, and then he slips and falls, and they all fly out of these crocodile tongues. And I love how it sets up how it's by a peach tree that never grows, and then this peach starts growing, and you literally see the size of the peach grow, and I think that's really cool. And so I love that, and then I love how Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker make money out of it, and then James goes later that night, when all the kids are gone, when he didn't get to see the children or anything, he wants to have friends. He goes out and gets the trash, but then he finds the peach, and he finds a crocodile tongue that he eats with a piece of the peach, and goes inside and is transformed into a stop motion character, and that's really cool. And it makes sense with budgetary reasons, and apparently they were going to make this fully stop motion, but then they didn't have the budget, so they just made it part live action. which it is integrated fine with live action and animation, but yeah, it's really cool how they do that as well. And whenever he gets to the stop motion bits, it's just as creative and cool as like a Nightmare Before Christmas, where like it's just all these bug characters are really colorful and creative. I really like all these characters. Like the centipede is a really fun kind of smart aleck character, and the spider, who's played by Susan Sarandon, is great. The one that James saved earlier in the movie, and like the ladybug, who's very nice and kind, or the glowworm that's blind, or deaf, or the blind worm. Like all these characters are really fun, and I like how they all have such fun personalities, and they're distinct from each other, and they all are really likable, and it makes a great thing for them to become friends with James and have him have friends, and I really think that's cool. And I like how we get the second song, I guess, in the movie. I like how this is a musical too, and the music is all good, but I love the song they first sing when they're in the Peach, singing "That's the Life for Me," and they're just talking about going away, going to New York. And then I love how that's interrupted by the ants coming out, and the centipede breaks the stem off the peach, and they start rolling and run over the ants, even though they don't die in this version, they die in the book. But I love this. This is just such a cool scene in the movie where like the peach is rolling down the hill. It flies over a church building. It goes over a fence, so all the pieces of the fence are on the side of the peach, and then it flies into the ocean. And it's just such a cool moment. It's such a cool, incredibly visual, cool moment. So I really enjoyed that a lot. And then I like how, again, it gets even more creative because it has them land in the ocean, and they need to get out of the ocean because they're going to die there or drown, because who knows how long they'd last there, even with this giant peach. And James thinks of the cool idea of making the seagulls become like a net to where they could fly with the seagulls. And that's so cool, and that's so fun when they're trying to catch the seagulls but keep getting foiled. And then there's a robot shark, and it's so cool. I think it was a regular shark in the book, but still, a robot shark is pretty awesome. And it like throws like a harpoon through this peach, so like it's connected to it, so like they can't escape. And then they've got to get the seagulls that are flying away. They get caught off. I really love that scene. Like, it's such a cool scene, and just animation wise, it's so cool. And then they finally get to finish singing the "That's the Life for Me" song because the ants didn't interrupt them this time. And then I love this song that they do about, they're just singing about eating the peach, but it's such a fun song. And again, it just does a good job of having these characters grow in such a quick way, in such a relatable way. Like they all like connect really easily, and I like how they do, and it's got that fairy tale quality to it. And then I love whenever they go underwater when they land in the Arctic on accident, because the centipede falls asleep, and they meet all these undead pirates, and one of them is Jack Skellington, which again it was so cool to watch as a kid, because I love Jack Skellington and I love A Nightmare Before Christmas, and it was so cool seeing him, and he was the head skeleton, and that's cool they reused him since Henry Selick just did Nightmare Before Christmas 3 years before that. And also, one of the skeletons was Donald Duck. He had the quack like Donald. It had the face like Donald. That's hilarious. And that's just fun, action-packed with them underwater, like fighting off these skeletons, undead skeletons, to get a compass. And then I really love, and I just keep describing the whole movie, but I love this moment too, where they've got the song where they're all up flying back the other direction because they went the wrong direction after the centipede fell asleep. But they've got that great song called "We're Family," where they're just, it kind of is it feels like a conclusion of like them becoming friends and growing to love each other. And I really love that song and how it's placed, and it's a really catchy, fun song, and it's kind of emotional too, because you just really feel that these characters all gained a friendship throughout this movie. It just works on an emotional core pretty well. And And then I love how James, the cloud rhino, comes back because, like I said, he wasn't a cloud rhino in the book. He was just a regular rhino. But he comes through the sky, and James, it's a cool way of James standing up to this rhino saying, "I'm not afraid of you," and like he screams at him. And then the rhino dissipates, but like it like zaps the fence, which flies, or it zaps the webbing to where the seagulls fly off with all the bugs on top. So James falls down with the peach to an unknown area, and you realize that he lands on the Empire State Building, which is awesome. And this is New York in, say, the 1930s, I think, because the way it looks, I feel like it was 1930s or 40s. Because it was the tallest building in the world then. I like that. I think that's cool. Because I enjoyed that. And I like how, again, this is something they changed from the book, but I like how the ants come back, and apparently they swam, or they drove through the ocean to New York because their car comes up and appears out of nowhere, and it's just wet. It's got moths, it's got fish, it's got crabs on it. One of them even has a crab on their butt whenever they get out. And I love how they come up to James and are like, "You're coming home with us." And I love how James, again, and he looks like his normal self again, his live action self, because the crocodile tongues out of him. But like he's with all the live action people now, and he stands up to Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker, and it's a cool moment because like he finally gets rid of him because he tells everybody out loud like how you beat me, how I was always hungry. Like I like that moment, and I liked how the bugs came back and they tied him up, webbed him up, the two ants, and then I love how they're spinning around and their hair flies off, so they're even more grosser than what we thought they were because they already had that gross kind of personality, the two ants. So I like how they're taken away, and then it does feel again like a fairy tale where it's got the happily ever after for James, where he becomes the most famous kid in the world, where he has all these friends, every friend he could ever ask for, and all the kids eat the peach down to the pit where they make it a house at the end. So I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really great way to end it. And a really satisfying way for him to finally get everything he deserved and wanted. Have friends and just family. And he became the most famous kid in the world because of that. That's really cool. And the ending just kind of, it doesn't choke me up, but it makes me feel very satisfied because he gets what he wants. He finally gets it. And also I want to mention too, that the score in this was by Randy Newman, who is great. I love Randy Newman's scores, and he's excellent in this movie. His music and his lyrics are excellent. I really enjoyed him a lot, like doing this movie as well. And it was 1 year after Toy Story, which was it was similar in some ways in terms of the score, but I really love that Randy Newman did the score as well. So I really, really, really love this movie, and it's one of my favorite Disney movies. And just rewatching it, and it's such a quick sit. It's only like 79 minutes. It's literally that quick, and so it's not even an hour and a half. But it's so quick, and I remember everything about it. But it's just always so immensely watchable. So I really love James and the Giant Peach. I love everything about it. One of my favorite Disney movies. So tell me down below what you think of James and the Giant Peach, and thank you guys so much for watching.